We have Earth Day 365 days a year, whereas America has Earth Day 1 day a year. And we want to leave our farm in better shape for the next generation so that they can enjoy it as well as we did.
Steve Wellman, president of the American Soybean Association, joins us from Commodity Classic. And Steve, as growers begin to plan for another planting season, take the pulse of your membership at this point.
Well, I think the pulse of our membership is strong. I think there's a lot of enthusiasm and confidence out there that agriculture is doing well. I believe that they are looking forward to the planting season, whether they're going to reach the 75 million acres that USDA expects or has projected. I think maybe the last couple weeks of price action has probably helped firm that number up. We'll see what happens between now and when the planters actually start rolling. But you know, there's a lot of good reasons to plant soybeans. There's a great demand for soy across the world. Global consumption of soy has gone up 152% since 1990. So it's more than any other commodity. And so we're leading the way in global consumption, and part of that is because of our foreign markets and the societies moving to a more meat type diet. And so as they need soy for their livestock, or if they're buying livestock from the United States, they consume more soy here. So either way, it's good for the soybean farmer, and we're I think well positioned to continue to meet that growing demand. Over the last, since 1995, soybean acreage in the United States has gone up 15 million acres, obviously to meet that demand. And it looks like it's expected that soy protein demands will go up 75% by 2025, and soybeans will play a key role in meeting that growing demand for protein.
Of course, ASA works on policy for the advancement of the U.S. soybean industry, and let's get into some of the policy. What are the priorities for ASA this coming year?
Well, first and foremost is the Farm Bill, since that's the hot topic, and there's hearings going on here in March. The American Soybean Association has 4 priorities. First of all is the foundation of the crop insurance program. Although it's not necessarily part of the Farm Bill legislation, it's definitely the center of attention at this point, and has been, and I believe that there's a pretty strong consensus and support for keeping crop insurance vibrant and well-funded, and the basis for risk management for our farmers. Secondly is a complement to the crop insurance program, some type of a revenue program that would be in addition to on top of the crop insurance coverage. Thirdly is planting flexibility. Whatever programs we end up with, we want to make sure that the farmers have the ability to make the decisions on what crops to plant because of the marketplace and not because of a government program. And then lastly is our make sure we're in compliance with the WTO commitments that the United States has.
Transportation issues are something that the soybean industry has really put a lot of focus on here recently. And I know ASA too is very active in this arena in terms of making sure that rivers are continued to be dredged. There's a lot of concern and an opportunity at the same time about what expansion of the Panama Canal would bring for U.S. soybean exports. Talk about what you all are doing in that larger space called transportation.
Well, transportation, first of all, we have our Soy Transportation Coalition that the American Soybean Association is a member of. The United Soybean Board, our checkoff funds for the soybean farmers, recently funded a study, a very thorough study of transportation, and what I think it was titled a ticking time bomb, because of the potential downtime and the delays within our locks and dams on our river systems, and not having them properly maintained, what that might cost, even down to a region, for having a delay when a lock breaks or it doesn't function, and creates the delay in transporting those soybeans out to the Gulf or wherever they're intended to go. And then once they do get to the lower Mississippi, the dredging has been an issue. There is a Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund, which collects fees for products that are coming in and out. But in the past, that's collected about half of those funds that have been collected annually. Only half of those have been used for dredging. So about $750 million goes to the dredging, and about $750 goes to the general fund. So there's a couple pieces of legislation that the American Soybean Association supports. They realize America's maritime promise, and that was part of the, trying to get that as part of the House Transportation Bill. Recently that transportation bill was pulled back and delayed and trying to be reformulated. We'll certainly push to have that, the RAMP Act included in that, because that does create a wall around those harbor maintenance trust funds, so that once they're collected, and not only collected for that, but as they earn interest, if they haven't been spent, that interest would still also go towards the dredging, what they're originally intended for.
ASA working to support the largest user of soy, animal agriculture in this country. Summarize what you all are doing to support that sector.
Well, I think there's probably the two things that we do the most. Biodiesel actually can play a factor in keeping feed costs low for our domestic livestock. Create value for the soybean oil. When it's processed, you get the meal and the oil. If you can create more value for the oil, it allows the processor to be able to sell their protein at a lower cost, and so they can make their margins. So biodiesel and the consumption of soybean oil within biodiesel, we support the RFS renewable fuel standard for 2012. It's 1 billion gallons. The EPA has recommended a 1.28 billion gallon mandate for 2013. National Biodiesel Board and American Soybean Association definitely support that expansion and moving that volume up to 1.28 billion. Secondly, I think the other part of that is free trade agreements. The South Korean Free Trade Agreement, the Colombia Free Trade Agreement, and Panama that were passed last year. The South Korean agreement will be implemented on March 15th. Those all open up not only markets for soybeans, but meat exports from the United States. So about a $3 billion per year increase in ag exports are expected from those three free trade agreements. And as we look to the future, we look at the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and if the potential that has for opening up markets for our domestically raised livestock.
On more than one occasion in this interview, you've talked about industry, and it would seem on the outside looking in that the relationship between ASA and the United Soybean Board has improved dramatically. You're working hand in hand on tackling the most pressing issues facing this industry.
Yeah, the American Soybean Association and the United Soybean Board are working together on many projects. They help fund some studies that ASA needs to help give us guidance on policy efforts. We do some other, they help sponsor our banquet here at Commodity Classic. So Vanessa Coomer and I have had a good relationship. She took the chairmanship in October. I started as ASA president here in December, and we're just continuing on from the efforts that the board approved the memorandum of understanding last year, and so everything, we're looking forward.
Steve Wellman is president of the American Soybean Association. Steve, thank you for stopping by. For Agri-Pulse, I'm Stuart Doan at Commodity Classic.